Today, we embark on a journey to the desolate shores of The Lighthouse, a psychological horror masterpiece that will leave you both perplexed and enthralled. Directed by Robert Eggers, this black and white tale takes us to a remote island in the late 19th century where two lighthouse keepers are stranded together. As their isolation intensifies, so does their descent into madness. But beneath the surface of this mesmerizing narrative lies a labyrinth of symbolism, allegory, and psychological complexity. In this breakdown, we'll discuss the film's enigmatic themes, mesmerizing performances by Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, and the symbolic imagery of the island from the lighthouse itself to the haunting calls of the seabirds.
Alan!
This movie is filled with ambiguity and uncertainty, so as we untangle the strands of the dark and twisted narrative, be sure not to lose yourself in its hypnotic grasp. We open to see two men standing on a boat in an ocean thick with fog.
Damn, boy, he's thick!
The fog slowly clears to reveal a distant island with a lighthouse where they will be posted for the next few weeks. They silently relieve the current lighthouse keepers and watch as the boat disappears back into the fog. The younger man finds a hole in his mattress, and inside he finds a carving of a mermaid. After the first day's work, the two men share dinner and share their first conversation. We learn that they will be stationed on this island for 4 weeks, and get the sense that the older man is a veteran to lighthouse keeping, but this is the younger man's first assignment. As such, the older man takes charge, giving the younger man most of the hard labor and cleaning duties, while he will be tending to the light. From the way that he speaks of the light, it seems precious to him, something that he's almost greedy with, but he doesn't expand on why. That night, we see the older man staring at the light as he drinks. He removes his clothing and watches as it cuts through the darkness. The younger man can't sleep, so he wanders outside. He sees logs drifting through the ocean and hypnotically steps into the water, where he sees a floating corpse. As the water covers his face, he hears the calls of a siren, and a mermaid swims towards him, but as water drips onto his face, he wakes up from the apparent dream. He tends to his daily duties, but as he's fixing the shingles, he's able to see into the keeper's shared bedroom, and watches angrily as the older man uses his bed to take care of business. A one-eyed seagull then begins to harass the younger man as he continues his day, and his anger really boils after he drags a barrel full of oil up to the top of the lighthouse, when it turns out that he only needed a small pitcher. The two men share another dinner, where we learn the older man is a former sailor. It was on the sea that he found a love of liquor and superstition, and despite his growing disdain, the younger man finds himself enjoying the older man's company. The dinner ends with the older man warning that harming a seabird is bad luck, and it's a warning that he ensures is taken seriously.
Bad luck to kill a seabird!
The next day, the older man berates the younger man for slacking on his duties. When the younger man tries to defend himself, the older man gets into his face and angrily warns against contradicting him because he has the final say in their wages and has the ability to dock the younger man's pay. Already it's clear that things aren't quite as they may appear. The island's constant droning of foghorns enforces the feeling of isolation. Due to this isolation, the flaws of the characters begin to creep through, subtly at first, but with nowhere to hide, those flaws begin to shine and cut through the fog, just as the lighthouse does. The younger man is quick to anger and curious to a fault. He tries to enforce the rules that he was told so that he can have a chance to man the lighthouse, giving him a small feeling of control on this tiny island. While the older man seems wise at times, but also foolish and dirty due to his years of self-neglect and complacency. We can also already see hints of madness beginning, even though it's only been a few days. The way that the film fluidly transitions from sane monotony to insane dreams is as unclear to the audience as it is to these men on the island. It's strange and uncomfortable, and easily fools the conscious mind to distrust reality. A few days pass with a continuing tension on the small island. The two men work and bicker, and the one-eyed gull continues its harassment. At dinner one night, we finally learn the two men's names. The younger man is named Winslow, and he shares that he was a lumberjack, but as the labor continued to get more daunting and difficult, he signed up to become a lighthouse keeper. The old man is named Thomas, and he's always loved the sea. He was a sailor, but was forced to give that life up after injuring his leg. The night goes on, and the two men seem to finally be getting along. Winslow asks why it's bad luck to kill a seabird, and Thomas explains that they have the souls of dead sailors inside of them. Days pass before Winslow has another sleepless night. He reaches for his cigarettes, but remembers that he left them in the lighthouse. He goes to get them, but hears Thomas whispering to the light, and he watches as Thomas seemingly transforms into some kind of monster. The next day, Winslow finds a seagull drown in their water supply. The one-eyed gull then flaps near him and caws in a way that sounds like laughter, causing Winslow to snap. He grabs the bird around the neck and smashes it against the stones. That same day, the wind begins to change, and Thomas warns that it's a calm before the storm. They only have 1 day left on this island, so he's hoping that they can finish their duties and get off of the island before the storm blows in. They toss a trap into the ocean and have a dinner of lobster for their final meal together. During this dinner, Thomas convinces Winslow to drink with him, and the two men get drunk and share stories through the night. Winslow wakes up pretty hungover and begins the final day's duties. The wind blows in and it begins to rain. As he's bringing coal to the furnace, Winslow spots a body washed up on shore. He stares in disbelief at the familiar face of a woman, and as he uncovers her body, he finds the gills and tail of the mermaid. She wakes and screams as Winslow runs away and makes his way inside, where Thomas is waiting, and says that it's time to pack up and leave their station. They stand in the oncoming storm and watch the sea, but no ship arrives, and the two men find that their stay on this island is not over yet.
They didn't come.
With no other choice, the men continue to work as the island's keepers, but find that the storm has gotten to their food provisions and caused most of it to become inedible, so they will have to start rationing if they want to outlast the storm. Thomas says that he hid some provisions just in case something like this happened, and they go out and dig up a crate full of liquor. One drunken night, Thomas rants about how his leg wasn't actually injured and it was scurvy that caused his limp to form. Winslow's distrust in the older man grows, and he swipes a knife just in case. Winslow gets progressively more drunk and slips that the man that he worked for in the lumberyard was named Foreman Winslow, but he continues to ramble and doesn't hear Thomas's questions.
What? That's what I mean!
As the night goes on, the two men go completely off the rails, and their conversation ends up with them speaking about Thomas's cooking. It turns out Winslow hasn't been the biggest fan of his cooking, which is something that Thomas takes oddly personal.
You're fond of me lobster.
Days pass and the storm stays steady, and their supplies have grown scarce, forcing the men to rely mostly on liquor to survive, which causes Winslow to rapidly delve into madness. He continues with his duties, but always has a bottle beside him, and he begins to see visions of a blonde-haired man and the mermaid. One day he pulls the lobster trap up to find a man's head with one eye missing inside. When Winslow and Thomas are together, they drink into insanity. They dance and sing together, and they even hold each other at times. Occasionally they brawl, but those moments never last. One night, Winslow admits that Winslow isn't his real name. His name is actually Thomas as well, and he asks to be called Tommy. He tells his full story to the older man, saying that his old boss was named Winslow and he was a cruel foreman. He fantasized about killing the man, but is adamant that he never actually did the deed. While they were alone together, rushing logs down the river, Foreman Winslow slipped and fell beneath the water, and the cluster of logs made it so that he couldn't resurface. Tommy packed up Winslow's things and claimed them as his own, taking his life and his identity. With his truth exposed, Tommy begins to delve completely into madness.
Why'd you spill your beans, Tommy? Why'd you spill your beans?
Reality isn't clear anymore, so Tommy runs. He grabs a small dinghy, hoping to escape the island, but Thomas chases after him and smashes the boat with an axe. He chases the younger man back to their shelter. Tommy then rants at Thomas, saying that he's put all of the old man's lies together, and he knows that he's hiding something up in the lighthouse. Thomas is able to calm the younger man down. He even gets the knife back and tosses it into the fireplace. In this conversation, Thomas is adamant that it was Tommy who smashed up the boat, despite us seeing otherwise. He's also adamant that their time on this island has been far longer than Tommy understands, giving us another perspective and another potential reality.
How long have we been on this rock? 5 weeks? 2 days? Where are we?
As time continues, the men run out of liquor and, out of desperation, they make their own alcohol with honey and fuel. The storm continues to rage, and as the men fall into their true delusion, a wave crashes over their home, damaging the exterior and causing major flooding on the inside. Tommy finds Thomas's logbook floating in a room and begins to read through it. As he reads, his forgotten anger reignites. He confronts the older man, and this time, nothing that Thomas says can calm him down. Tommy calls the man a liar and a fool.
Stick you in your goddamn farts! You goddamn farts!
He pulls out the logbook and begins to read notes, saying that Tommy has been slacking in all of his duties due to laziness and excess drinking. The final note recommends severance without pay. Tommy begs to be allowed to see the light in the lighthouse, but Thomas says that he knows the truth about Tommy and sees him as only an angry child and blames all their bad luck on him killing the seagull. Both men reach their boiling points and begin to brawl. Tommy quickly gets the upper hand, and as he's punching down, he sees the older man as first his foreman, and then as the mermaid, and finally as a tentacle-covered monster. As the old man cowers on the ground, Tommy demands he starts to bark and act like the dog that he is. He puts a leash on him and forces him to crawl on all fours across the island and into a hole. As Thomas lays inside, Tommy buries him alive.
Scorching eyes with divine shames and horror, and casting them down to Davy Jones.
Tommy grabs the lighthouse keys from the shack, but Thomas suddenly rushes in from behind him and smacks him with the axe. It doesn't do much against the younger man, so he turns the tables and lodges the axe into the old man's head.
Spill death and triple drain. Make the ocean caves our bed.
Now, with nothing left in his way, Tommy goes to see the lighthouse light. He stares at the hypnotic glass as it stops spinning and opens. Tommy reaches forward and becomes overwhelmed. His elation turns to terror and he falls, cracking his leg and tumbling down the twisting staircase. As the light flashes, we see Tommy laying on the rocks as seagulls peck at his liver and eyes. And that is where the lighthouse ends. As I said at the beginning, this film is haunting and weaves its enigmatic themes into a story unlike any other. Hovering overhead, the incessant cries of seagulls amplify a sense of doom and chaos, their haunting presence mirroring the character's descent into madness. The elusive light atop the foreboding lighthouse stands as an emblem of both enlightenment and confinement, a symbol of truth guarded jealously by an authoritative figure embodying the age-old Prometheus myth, wherein the pursuit of knowledge sparks torment and retribution. Within this isolated realm, the very essence of identity dissolves, blurring the lines between man and myth, and the cyclical nature of their tormented existence emerges, hinting at an eternal purgatory from which there is no escape. The Lighthouse is a film designed to provoke thought and discussion, and these interpretations are just a few of the many possible meanings. Each person's experience and understanding of the film may differ as they interpret the story and see beyond the reality that hides the waiting truths, which makes it one of the most intriguing and enduring pieces of cinema I've ever seen. If you enjoyed this review and breakdown, then don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on the next movie that we cover, and check out the All Titles playlist where you'll find a whole lot of other really excellent movies. But until next time, you guys stay safe out there and happy watching. Bye-bye!
Stick you in your goddamn farts! Your goddamn farts!
Did you think it was coincidence? So many good things all happening for you, all for you.
No one says no to me! No, 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 no. No! I'm vengeance.